Tonight, South Australia's hard lockdown set to ease early following the revelation an original cluster case lied. And Broken Hill prepares to welcome Victorian tourists back as the state still remains closed to SA.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf Studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. The state's 6-day lockdown will end early, with authorities today revealing a feared case of community transmission was in fact a close contact. Effective midnight tomorrow night, South Australia will return to a pre-lockdown state. However, some restrictions will still remain in place.
No consequence for shutting down an entire state. The Premier today announcing a male connected with the Woodville Pizza Bar in Adelaide had lied to contact tracing authorities.
Well, I'm absolutely fuming about this situation.
SA Health says it was revealed the man did not go to collect a pizza as he previously stated, causing fears of community transmission, but he had in fact worked there.
We need to send a strong message to people that are doing the wrong thing and putting the South Australian public into such a difficult situation because of their lies.
As a result, South Australia will be coming out of its lockdown early, with some restrictions still in place. As of midnight tomorrow night, all premises will be restricted to the 1 per 4 square metre rule. A 100-person limit will apply for hospitality, and table bookings will be limited to 10. Funerals limited to 50 people and weddings capped at 150. But no vertical consumption or dancing allowed just yet, with seated consumption also required at all venues. Religious ceremonies will also be restricted to 100 people. Beauty and private services will still be required to wear masks. Private gatherings will be limited to 50 people. However, the number allowed in a private residence will only be 10, and gyms will be able to reopen. As for now, exercise with members of the family household is allowed, and essential workers can get a lift to and from work by a spouse or partner. South Australia recorded 3 new coronavirus cases overnight, all from members already in quarantine. According to police, it is not mandatory to wear a mask or face covering in South Australia, but it is highly recommended. Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Families in Broken Hill will soon be able to reunite with their loved ones as New South Wales gears up to open its border with Victoria. But as one door opens, another closes, with restrictions tightened for SA visitors.
For almost 5 months, this is what's greeted Victorians trying to cross the Murray River. But from 12:01 Monday morning, New South Wales will become the first state to completely reopen its border with Victoria. As families hit the road to reunite with their loved ones, Broken Hill's accommodation is quickly filling at what's usually a quiet time of year.
It's normally what we wouldn't have in November. It'd be pretty hot and people want to stay close to the coast.
For locals, it's a chance to return to some normality. While travel to Adelaide is discouraged, Broken Hill's links with Mildura returns, creating extra healthcare opportunities for our most vulnerable.
But I think for Broken Hill people generally, they do have that connection to Mildura. It's another resource for referral for health.
As our city prepares to welcome back Victorians, there are now increased restrictions for those entering from South Australia. Everybody entering New South Wales from SA must complete an entry declaration form to assist in contact tracing. And most importantly, if you have any symptoms, get tested, regardless of where you've come from.
I think the community has actually responded to that call. In the last 3 days, we have seen a massive jump in terms of our numbers.
Police also asking drivers to take care as roads become busier.
Just asking that people be patient, just observe what's going on around them and just wait. We want you to get to where you're going safely.
And I'm sure there'll be lots of celebration and cheers, but I need to remind everyone that we are still in a pandemic.
Lachlan Itter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Meanwhile, the APY Lands has closed its border to South Australians for the next 3 weeks. The Executive Board of Management says Indigenous communities are more at risk of hospitalisation and death during a virus outbreak.
Locking down the border, aiming to protect local communities. The APY Lands taking action, closing its border 2 days before the state's lockdown came into effect.
We didn't want anyone bringing that back into APY. We've got a vulnerable population. with comorbidities who are really at risk of this novel virus.
While also following the state's restrictions, the APY Lands has put a limit on fuel and halted cash to help prevent the spread of infection.
Fuel is $40 worth of fuel, which is about 20 litres, which gets people enough fuel to get around the communities that they're in, but not enough to travel between communities.
Richard says the measures are necessary to protect Aboriginal communities who are at greater risk of hospitalisation and death from a virus outbreak due to underlying chronic illness and disease.
Things like diabetes, organ failure, eventually high blood pressure. And now all those items are precursors for this novel virus.
SA Health says they understand the high risk to Aboriginal people and are working closely with SAPOL to develop COVID-19 community plans. The APY border restrictions are expected to be in place for at least 3 weeks. Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Port Pirie's mayor is calling on the community to remain calm following a whirlwind of restrictions. Many residents may be feeling confused about today's announcements, but are urged to seek up-to-date information.
A day in limbo with major restrictions set to be lifted. From that comes fresh calls for calm.
A turbulent couple of days from what we first went into our first shutdown and now with today's results coming back. I still urge for our community to remain calm.
Port Pirie Council acting swiftly under the announcement of businesses given the green light to reopen from Sunday.
The community will start coming back online. Council itself, we're looking at reopening the dump, say for example on Sunday, to get everybody up to speed.
The lockdown sending the community into turmoil, businesses closed, wedding and funerals cancelled. The Mayor, however, urging South Australia is not out the woods yet, with active cases still looming.
Things that have been stopped and cancelled because of the shut, and it's really one of the things that worries me greatly if we go back too quickly to being very relaxed.
Residents may feel uneasy or confused by the roller coaster of changes and are encouraged to seek up-to-date information online.
Our webpage has always got the latest updates, but we do always urge people to look into SA Health as the main source of information.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Restrictions on outdoor exercise has been lifted immediately, and gym trainers across the region are encouraging residents to get out and stay active. The calls come following a whirlwind week of restrictions, with gyms the first of many industries to be shut down.
Especially now more than ever when there's no gyms open, we need to keep moving and hopefully eating okay as well.
From Port Lincoln to Mount Gambier, we've obviously had to shut up shop straight away. We're committed to keeping our staff on for as long as we can, but I know plenty of others in the industry will be feeling it pretty tough at the moment.
This is set to change from midnight Saturday night, where gyms and recreational centres are expected to open. Port Pirie's 24 Fit owners have been working with their staff during the shutdown. Still to come tonight, how the Spencer Gulf real estate market is staying strong despite lockdown. And Port Lincoln Youth Services say it's been a trying time for vulnerable locals. Welcome back. Port Augusta's real estate industry is remaining strong despite the COVID-19 lockdown chaos. Real estate agents say this time they were prepared, using technology to their advantage while operating remotely from home.
It's business as usual for Ray White Port Augusta, shifting online to keep up with the booming property market amid the pandemic.
What we've implemented is everyone's working from home. We've been down this road before. We've got systems in place. We've got everything in place to make it happen.
We've been very busy with appraisals, very busy with inspections through those virtual walkthroughs, and lots of inquiries have come through where we've got people on wait lists now to get them physically through the property.
While the lockdown has put a halt to open houses, inspections and auctions, they say there has been no major disruptions to sales.
Sales can still continue and we can still put things under contract, we can still have settlements go through. A lot of the professionals we work with are all based online as well.
Tenants due to move out have been put on hold during the lockdown, while maintenance requests are emergency only.
Anything that's life-threatening or health-threatening is classed as an emergency. They are the only maintenance items that are allowed to be attended to at the moment.
Agents expect the market to remain strong over the next couple of years.
A lot of our sales were driven from in the last lockdown out of area buyers, and even now the local investors are looking. So I don't think that's going to slow down.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The news of the lockdown ending has been welcomed across the region as cooped-up locals prepare to be allowed out and about. Port Lincoln's Youth Support Service says it's been a trying time, but is glad to see the end in sight.
Despite being apart, we've never been so united, with only one more day until the lockdown ends.
A huge sigh of relief and are looking forward to being able to probably support people.
Port Lincoln's Youth Support Service says it couldn't come any sooner after what's been a very confusing and busy week.
We already were seeing an increase in struggles because prior to the lockdown we had this staycation, travel in your own state, and so our ability to access any sort of emergency accommodation was becoming limited.
Following Wednesday's shock lockdown announcement, the team says 8 people presented to the Port Lincoln service seeking help, but with regional travel banned, available accommodation was few and far between.
So we worked with the police on how they could best be supported.
The City Council also opening public services, including the foreshore toilet block, which support workers say was a lifesaver.
Because sometimes it's not safe to stay at home and people have to flee, and sometimes they flee with children, as well as we know that we have several rough sleepers in this region. So to have those facilities stay open, I think, was a huge win for our area.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
In other news, a Port Augusta man will face court after he was nabbed allegedly drink driving in Coober Pedy on Wednesday. The 30-year-old allegedly returned a reading of 0.206, more than 4 times the legal limit. Checks also revealed he was disqualified and his car was unregistered. His car was impounded and he will appear in court at a later date. A 26-year-old Kadina woman has been arrested after police found drugs in her vehicle at Baskerville yesterday afternoon. Kadina police allege they pulled the driver over just before 4 and located 30 grams of methamphetamine in the vehicle. Further investigations led authorities to search a Kadina home where officers located more drugs. She's been refused bail and will appear in court at a later date. A 30-year-old Hope Valley man has been fined more than $1,500 after being caught speeding 40 kilometres over the speed limit in the Mid-North Wednesday evening. Just after 6, patrols pulled over a vehicle on RM Williams Way at Carrington. The motorist was allegedly travelling at 152 kilometres per hour in a 110 zone. Stay with us after the break. Whyalla High School construction halted but still yet to be on track. And horse race meetings urgently rescheduled following restrictions set to ease. Hello again. Back to coronavirus now, and South Australia's lockdown has led to construction at Whyalla's new multi-million-dollar high school halted. However, the Education Minister says he is confident the project is still on track for its 2022 opening.
The gates padlocked shut with no worker in sight. It's a change for South Australia when only a few days ago this new build here in Whyalla was a busy construction site.
I think it's probably taken everyone a little bit by surprise, but I guess we're of the opinion that it's for the greater good.
Roughly 100 workers sent home when the lockdown was announced by the Premier on Wednesday. But the state's Education Minister John Gardner says the new school is on track to open in 2022.
To this point, our Whyalla School project, the fantastic new school being built, is on track. The time frame is still looking fine.
The site's project manager says the build is going well, with concrete slabs now poured for the top level of buildings 3 and 4.
Building 2 has got all its structural steel up and it's had its suspended slab poured and the roof purlins are going on. And then building 1 and 5 are the last 2 to get structural steel put up.
We're still very confident that we'll be able to have all of the project well and truly completed in time for a very, very joyful opening of the new school, day 1, term 1 in 2022.
Under new lockdown directions announced by the Premier this morning, schools across South Australia are set to resume on Monday. Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
South Australia's racing industry is breathing a huge sigh of relief. Following today's announcement, restrictions will begin to ease. Racing officials are now scrambling to reschedule race meetings ahead of next week after they were initially scrapped.
They obviously supply employment, they supply recreational activities for people, and there is a connectivity to a whole range of businesses and services.
The restrictions are set to be lifted midnight tomorrow. Prison visits will be soon allowed across New South Wales for the first time since March. From Monday, inmates can see up to 2 people at a time. Visitors must wear surgical masks, undergo temperature checks and maintain physical distancing. Visits will be limited to 30 minutes and corrective services will continue to monitor the situation. It sounds unusual, but a Broken Hill man has been arrested and charged with being in control of a dog in a public place. Police say members of the public recognised and reported the man after spotting him with a dog in the town centre around Argent and Wolfram Streets on Wednesday morning. The man was previously banned from dog ownership by the local court this time last year. He's also not allowed to be in control of the animal. He'll face court at a later date. Stay with us after the break. A mass blackout impacts thousands of residents in Broken Hill. Plus, we'll have all the weather details with Alex. Welcome back. Back to other news now, and parts of Broken Hill South were left in the dark last night after a power line gas switch exploded. Firefighters were called to Bonanza Street at 6:45 after residents reported seeing a pole on fire. Essential Energy says 2,050 homes lost power, but most were reconnected before 8 o'clock. Time to take a look now at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex.
Thanks, Ruby. Conditions were mainly fine and sunny throughout the region. From 3 p.m. today, Broken Hill 37 degrees, Adelaide a fairly mild day with 24 the top there. Cooper Pedy had a top of 40 degrees. Taking a look further across the region now, Port Augusta had a maximum of 30 degrees, Port Pirie 29, Woodner slightly warmer with 32 degrees, bit cooler south in Whyalla with 26 degrees, Kadina a top of 23 and Port Lincoln had a maximum of 21 degrees. Looking at the satellite now, thick cloud over northwestern SA with a trough is triggering isolated showers and thunderstorms. High cloud over central and eastern parts is not producing any rain. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Winds will be southeasterly turning southwesterly, reaching between 10 and 15 knots. Seas up to 2 metres, with south to southwesterly swells up to 2 metres. Port Lincoln partly cloudy and 29. A hot one on the way for Cleve with 38 the top there. Even warmer in Woodner, reaching 41. Whale will be partly cloudy and 37 degrees. Scorcher for Port Augusta with 43 degrees. Kadina partly cloudy and 36. Port Pirie very hot and a max of 41 there. Clare 37 and a hot partly cloudy day for Broken Hill with a top of 39. Taking a look further through the week now, we'll see an onset of showers on Sunday throughout the region. Tops of 35 for Cooper Pedy, Port Augusta, Broken Hill and Port Pirie. Showers for Woodner and Whyalla with a max of 32 degrees. Showers and 24 in Port Lincoln and showers in Adelaide also with a maximum of 31 degrees. Conditions should begin to clear up on Monday, mainly fine in Cooper Pedy and 31 degrees, 29 in Broken Hill, partly cloudy and 27 for Port Augusta and Woodner. Whyalla and Kadina will have tops of 24, 25 the top for Port Pirie and a mainly finely day in Adelaide with 23 degrees. Tuesday will be mostly sunny throughout the region with mild to warm temperatures. 32 and sunny for Cooper Pedy, 28 in Broken Hill and Port Augusta, 30 degrees for Woodner and 35 degrees for Whyalla, Kadina and Adelaide. So it'll be a warm one going into the weekend, but showers will arrive on Sunday. And that's all the weather from me tonight. It's back to you.
Lovely, thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Friday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening and have a lovely and safe weekend. Good night.